Hello and welcome back. Something happened at the BTS ARIRANG World Tour Soundcheck in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And no, it wasn't a surprise performance or an unexpected guest or a Weverse announcement that broke the internet. What happened was simpler than any of that. And somehow, because it's Jimin, it hit the internet harder than most things that actually do involve surprise performances and announcements. Jimin changed his hair. An ARMY is not okay. Let me tell you the full story because the context of this specific moment matters so much more when you understand the journey that got us here. Because this isn't just a hair color change. This is the latest chapter in what has become, over the course of this entire ARIRANG World Tour, one of the most talked about style evolutions any K-pop artist has gone through in recent memory. And every single time Jimin has changed something about his look during this tour, the internet has had the same reaction: total, complete, joyful collapse. We need to go back to April 1st, because that's where this story really starts. April 9th, 2026. BTS opens the ARIRANG World Tour in Goyang, South Korea. The first concert the full group has performed together since April 2022 in Las Vegas. For years. And Jimin walks onto that stage with hair that reaches just past his shoulders. Honey blonde, soft, longer than most people were expecting. The reaction was immediate. ARMY had been prepared for a lot of things, but somehow the hair still caught people off guard. Comments were everywhere. He looks like a prince. He looks like a painting. I wasn't ready, and I still wasn't ready even though I knew it was coming. Then April 17th. Tokyo Dome. The Japan leg of the tour begins. And at the soundcheck, which fans attend as part of VIP packages, cameras caught Jimin and the hair had grown. Not a little. A lot. What had been shoulder length in Goyang was now well past his shoulders, reaching toward his upper back, with shorter layers in the front framing his face. The nickname that spread across X within hours was Rapenzelman, and it stuck immediately because it was exactly right. The longer blonde hair, the way it moved when he performed, the almost fairy tale quality of it. Rapenzelman was the only possible description. The clips from that Tokyo soundcheck went everywhere. Fans who hadn't purchased soundcheck packages were watching through other people's footage, zooming in on their screens, sending each other the same videos 6 times in a row. One person wrote, "I need to sit down. I've been sitting down this whole time, but I need to sit down harder," which is not entirely logical but makes complete sense if you saw the videos. The Tokyo run ended. The tour moved to other cities. And the blonde hair, Rapenzelman, the look that had broken people in April, became the thing everyone was used to. The new normal, the established Jimin of the ARIRANG era. Long, golden, flowing, devastating. And then the European leg started. And Jimin showed up to the London stop with silver hair. Gone. The blonde was gone. In its place, platinum silver. Sleek, luminous. A shade that catches light differently from every angle and makes his already striking features do something that photographers have been struggling to articulate but keep trying. He looks like he was carved out of moonlight. Silver Jimin is a different species of beautiful. Hold Me Back Jimin is in Europe and has silver hair. The reaction to the silver hair at the European dates, London, Brussels, Paris, was a full fandom reset. People who had been processing Rapenzelman for months suddenly had to process an entirely new version of Jimin. The platinum silver color is not new for him. He has worn it before, during the Wings era in 2016 and then again during the Love Yourself tour in 2019. But in 2026, with longer hair than he's ever had before, with the Dior custom stage pieces, with everything that has accumulated around his visual identity during this tour, Silver Jimin in 2026 is not the same as Silver Jimin in 2016. It hits differently. It looks different. It is genuinely one of the most striking things he has ever looked like on a stage, and that is an extremely competitive category. Then the tour crossed the Atlantic, North America, and the ARIRANG World Tour arrived at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the same stadium where, just a few weeks earlier on July 19th, BTS had performed at the FIFA World Cup final halftime show during Spain versus Argentina. The same field, a different context. This time it's ARMY in those seats, not football fans, and the energy is entirely different, which is to say it is at an absolute maximum from the moment gates open. The soundcheck at Rutherford. The VIP fans inside. cameras everywhere, because there are always cameras everywhere at a BTS soundcheck, and the fans who attend know this and plan accordingly. And then Jimin walked out. Still silver, but styled differently than Europe. The silver at Rutherford was slightly darker at the roots and brighter toward the ends, giving the whole look a gradient quality that made it appear almost as if light was moving through his hair even when he was standing still. Paired with the outfit he wore during the soundcheck, layered and deliberate in that specific Jimin way where every piece of clothing appears to have been chosen to make the overall effect land harder. And the reaction from the fans inside that soundcheck was immediate and loud enough that it was audible in videos recorded from significant distances away. Clips hit X within minutes. Within the hour, several variations of the phrase, "Silver Jimin at Rutherford Soundcheck," were trending simultaneously in multiple markets. In the US, in Korea, in Indonesia, in Brazil. The tags were different, but the content was the same. People posting the same clips, the same photos, the same frame-by-frame breakdowns of specific moments where the light hit his hair in a particular way, and the result was something that several people independently described as illegal. Not in a legal sense. In the way that K-pop fans use the word to describe when an idol does something with their face or their hair or their presence that feels like it should not be allowed to simply exist in the world without a warning label. One clip in particular went further than the others. At one point during the soundcheck, Jimin ran a hand through his silver hair, completely casually, not a performance, just a person moving their hand, and the resulting visual, which was caught by at least 3 different cameras from 3 different angles, sent the internet into a spiral that it has not yet fully recovered from. The clip has been viewed tens of millions of times. It has been slowed down. It has been set to music. It has had an essay written about it on Tumblr that somehow made a serious and coherent argument about the nature of visual charisma and why some people possess it in a way that cannot be taught or manufactured. The essay has over 200,000 notes. For a hair flip, at a soundcheck. But this is where I want to talk about the rest of the group for a second, because the soundcheck wasn't only Jimin, even though he was the main topic of conversation. All 7 members were there, and the full energy of BTS at a soundcheck is something that is genuinely worth talking about. RM, who has been wearing his hair in a more relaxed, slightly longer style throughout the North American leg, was doing what RM does at soundchecks, using the time to actually communicate with the fans present, making eye contact, responding to signs, that very specific RM quality of making a stadium feel intimate even when it isn't. Jeon, who has been in what ARMY has been calling his peak Jeon era for the entire ARIRANG tour, was laughing at something Jungkook was doing behind him with the complete, unbothered energy of someone who is exactly where he's supposed to be and knows it. SUGA had his default soundcheck expression, focused slightly elsewhere, the look of a person who is doing multiple things simultaneously in his head, until someone said something that made him laugh, and for a second he was entirely present and the whole section of fans near him lost it. J-Hope was, as always, J-Hope, which means he was performing even when the performance hadn't technically started yet. Full energy, full commitment, making soundcheck feel like an event in its own right. V was spotted doing something in the corner of the stage with what appeared to be extreme focus that turned out to be him examining a monitor very closely for reasons nobody was entirely clear on, which is very V. And Jungkook, who was the reason Jeon was laughing. Jungkook was doing a bit, something physical and slightly chaotic, the specific kind of thing that Jungkook has been doing since he was a teenager trainee and will apparently continue doing indefinitely regardless of how many sold-out stadiums he has played. All 7 of them, in one space, preparing for 2 nights at MetLife Stadium. The same stadium where the World Cup final halftime show happened. The same city where BTS has built some of their most significant American memories across multiple tours. And the fans at that soundcheck got to be in the room for the beginning of it. But the thing everyone was talking about, the thing that dominated every conversation and every timeline and every comment section for the next 48 hours, was the silver hair. Here's the thing about Jimin's relationship with his hair that I think gets lost sometimes in the immediate reaction to each change. His hair is not just a styling choice, it's documentation. Every era of Jimin's career has come with a specific hair moment that, in retrospect, you can point to and say that was when things shifted. The silver of the Wings era in 2016, when BTS was in the middle of their most critically ambitious project to date. The orange hair of the DNA era. The blue-tinted looks of Map of the Soul. The black hair of Face in 2023. The intentional return to something unadorned and direct. The blonde that announced the Muse era in 2024, which he described as something he'd been wanting to do for years. And then Rapenzelman, the longer, golden version that opened the ARIRANG tour and gave this comeback its most immediately recognizable visual. And now the silver, which has its own history on him, which every longtime ARMY sees and connects to specific memories. 2016 Wings, 2019 Speak Yourself, 2026 ARIRANG. 3 eras of silver hair. 3 completely different Jimins wearing the same color and making it feel like a different thing every time. One person on X put it simply, "Silver hair Jimin is not a person. Silver hair Jimin is an event." That is correct. That is exactly what happened at the Rutherford Soundcheck. An event occurred. People were present for it. The clips have been distributed to those who were not. And now, heading into 2 nights at MetLife Stadium, the stage where BTS will perform for one of the biggest North American crowds of the entire ARIRANG tour, Jimin's hair is silver. His presence is at whatever level exists above maximum, and ARMY is in a state that can only be described as prepared and completely unprepared at the same time. The concerts haven't happened yet. The set lists for these specific nights are still to be confirmed. But whatever gets performed, whatever moments get caught on fan cams and shared across timelines and discussed in comment sections for weeks afterward, the hair is already part of the story. It showed up at the soundcheck. It made the reaction videos. It generated the Tumblr essay. Silver Jimin is here. East Rutherford is not ready. And honestly, I don't think any of us were either. But here we are. And I'll see you in the next one. Bangtan forever. Purple Heart.